Hello, unprofessionals. Today's episode is us talking, me and Tedisco, about us talking to parents. Also, our teacher pet peeves. And, as usual, quite a few tangents. Breaking Bad, speaking Spanish, who knows what. All those sorts of things. And today's episode also is sponsored by the PA system. Loud interruptions, random announcements, misunderstood things, sometimes wrong directions of what's going to happen next. The PA system is just a wonderful thing. We love it. Please support the PA system. So please enjoy this episode. Okay. Good morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time it is for you listening to this podcast.
Good moment.
Yes.
Good moment.
So this is unprofessional development. Real teachers, real stories.
Real stories.
I'm dropping the telling now. Okay.
No telling.
No telling. Real
We're not
teachers.
telling.
No.
It just
real
is.
teachers. Real. Yes.
Right. I tell, therefore I am. That was the
That way,
part.
but when I drop the telling, I can say it. Real teachers, real stories.
Yeah.
The telling's where my tongue gets all twisted. So
It's nice. Descartes. That kind of links the math and the English
there you go.
world, right?
I
Your
am a
Cartesian
teacher,
planes.
therefore I have a story.
Right. I did find a T-shirt once that said, "I teach, therefore I drink."
Nice. Wow.
I like that one. That was solid.
Oh, alrighty. Oh, by the way, now pause. You can cut this out if you want. All right. I'm working on a theme song, so maybe this will be part of the theme song. But I realized that
Teachers.
no, like unprofessional rhymes with confessional. So we're just unprofessional teachers doing a confessional. I don't have any more. That's the theme song. La la.
Why does that sound like an old pirate shanty?
Yes.
Like.
So I can't carry a tune. So I don't know, but it's a work in progress. So I still really want to have like a.
Really? It sounded polished.
It sounds good. Well, I mean, if it's going to be unprofessional development, we can have an unprofessional theme song. So.
Right. No, we'll just have a chorus of school children.
Next time,
singing
if you want to beatbox to when I do that, we can do that.
Yes.
Okay.
What's better than beatboxing?
Did the pirates used to beatbox?
Yes, beatboxing pirate shanties. It's an up and coming genre. Spotify really needs to open up. Conservatives.
Yes. All right. So what are we going to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about funny parent
Do
conversations.
you need spectacles to this go?
I do need spectacles. I have awful vision.
Okay, you're young to need spectacles.
There was a teacher halfway down the hall, and I made a joke about how they need to wear glasses, and the person next to me said, "They are wearing glasses, Mr. Tedesco." And I did that thing where I squint really hard. I'm like,
yes,
okay, yeah, I see it.
Yes.
Okay.
The show doc is at 24 font, and it is at 150%, and Mr. Tedisco is squinting at the words.
Yes.
So, what are we doing today? I already asked you that. What'd you say?
I believe it says fracking holopoint conversions.
Yes. That's what the listeners have been
I don't
demanding.
need glasses,
Yes.
right? I
No.
nailed that.
Yes. So funny parent conversations.
So it's always awkward when you have to talk to parents. Like, I got into this job because I don't really like talking to adults. It's not my favorite thing.
Yes.
But I can interact with kids, really well. So, like, when I'm forced into a situation where I have to call home, it's usually going to be awkward because I'm rarely calling home to say, Jamie's just awesome. I mean, so great. Like, usually you call home to say, like, they slapped a kid. And so that,
yeah.
I get
Do you
nervous.
do the, so this is a tip for you teachers out there.
Yes.
Try and for every 2 bad phone calls, have a kid that did awesome and call that parent, shock the bejumbers out of them, okay, and tell them how awesome their kid did that day, and you go to bed feeling better, and they feel good. And I normally tell the parent give the kid like some ice cream or a cookie or whatever, and it's just a fun thing to do, and it just and it shocks parents. Do you do that?
Yeah, actually, I find that I get like more momentum if I start with a positive phone
Do
call.
you? Okay, that can
and
work
then
too.
I can do the negative ones. And honestly, a lot of the phone calls that I've made home, like, turned out really well. Like, the parents were on my side. They said, yeah, you know, he did this, he shouldn't have. Or, yes, we know, like, they do that at home, too, so we are working on that. Like, it's rarely contentious.
Yeah. So and then the psychological trick tied with that, the good one, is if you know, because for whatever reason this kid has a reputation for being a rascal. Now, you teach freshmen, so you don't always know their reputations, but by the time they get to me as juniors, sometimes someone sees your roster in the beginning of the year and they're like, oh, good luck with that one. If you call them up and just say, hey, I'm really looking forward to working with Johnny this year. Like, I'm just like his math teacher and blah, 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 blah. And just have like that first positive conversation. So that parent is no longer sees you, because sometimes they can see you as a enemy.
One of the biggest mistakes that teachers make is they will only send negative messages home.
Right.
Like, even when I call home and it's something they did wrong, you got to find something positive to say about that kid. Because otherwise you're just complaining about a child to the parent.
Yes.
And no parent wants to hear anybody complain about their child.
The old sandwich. You know the sandwich?
The sandwich.
Yes.
The sandwich is key.
Yes, the insult sandwich with compliments on either end. Oh, it's delicious.
You start by saying, man, what was the name that you used last week?
Oh,
that your teacher called everybody.
George, yeah.
George, yeah. So George is so great to have in class.
He tied his own shoes.
Yeah, he's got a lot of energy, right? Which I love. He gets very enthusiastic.
There we go.
But today he got a little too energetic and he flipped a table. So he got a consequence, all right, and he got sent to administration. But I know tomorrow's going to be great.
Yes.
So that's how, start with something positive, end with something positive, but definitely tell them what happened directly in the middle.
All right, so without getting us fired, tell us, like, an actual funny parent conversation that you've had.
So I had, I had to call home on a boy because he was misbehaving, right, making some bad choices. Yeah. And so I called home and I was, reporting on them, saying, he was, doing this and it wasn't okay. And the parents were totally on my side, which is great. But I was speaking to his mom, and his mom said, well, if you ever need to, you can just take him where there aren't any cameras, and you can jack him up. I was like, ma'am? She was like, just if he's doing this, just take him in the bathroom, you just slap him.
Nice.
No, ma'am.
So what level of serious do you think she was?
Oh, no, she was dead 100%.
Serious.
She was 100% serious. She was like, you have permission to hit my child. No, ma'am. No. At no point am I going to risk my entire career for that, number one. No. Number two, I just don't understand, like me personally, my philosophies are, I would never hit a child because I don't think that teaches them the right way. It teaches them to be afraid of the consequence.
Yes.
But doesn't teach them to choose not to do it. So I think from an educational standpoint, like in a school environment, there's no place for that.
Right. So
that was definitely the craziest conversation I ever had with a parent.
That's pretty wild. So I have a similar one to that, but the one that really comes to mind, because this one always just, it makes me laugh and it makes me shake my head. All right? And we as parents, I've got 2 kids. Mr. English has one kid. Anyway, we know that you can be blind to your own kids. They talk about being nose blind. You don't realize that you smell because you come from a house with 18 cats. So guess what? You smell like ammonia. You might not realize it, but when But anyway, so we can be blind to our kids' challenges or weaknesses or things like that. So this was after the semester. All right. So the kid was no longer in my class, and good kid. Tried hard. It was an honors class, which was challenging, and they ended up with a C. It wasn't because they were like a horrible student. Wasn't because they were like at any kind of behavioral issues. They did their best, but they were challenging themselves to be in an honors class.
And what grade level is this?
This was 11th. So she wanted to have a meeting about her son having a C, and if I could explain why he had a C and why he didn't have a B.
This was after the class, right?
Class is done.
Okay.
Grades are in. It's a done deal. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to fight a major battle, you could prove something, you could probably get a grade change. But for the most part, it's written in stone. It's going to take dig another stone out to get it out. So anyway, so we sit down the meeting was with the counselor as well. So it's always good to have, if you're having in-person meeting,
Mm-hmm.
have a third person there.
Especially if you're worried that the parent might get angry, because at least then you have a witness to say, like, no, this is what was said, so it doesn't turn into a he said, she said battle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have that backup, and what you said is clear, and what they said is clear.
Preferably somebody outside of your department, so not like another teacher just like you.
Yeah, no, they
Get a counselor, get an admin. Yeah.
So the counselor was there, and so the counselor pulls up on the computer George's grades, right? Everyone's George in this
Yes.
on this podcast. So she says, George, I'm sitting here looking at George's grades, and George had a C in 8th grade math, and George had a C in, at this point it was geometry and algebra 2. George had a C in geometry, and then George got a C in Mr. Mealy's class.
Mm-hmm.
To which the mom responds, my son is not a C math student. And you're like, she just rattled off 3 straight years, 3 straight C's. I think that is almost the definition of a C math student, is the words that want to come out of my mouth.
I mean, like, how?
Right. Like, I'm like, and at that point you can't, like, I mean, she just heard the facts. She states something contrary to the facts. So I'm not going to restate the facts because that's not going to get us anywhere. So I just talk about what a good kid he was, but what his struggles were, and what it took to earn a B in an honors class, which is not an easy thing to do. And, we kind of talked about that, but it was just, to me, I just walked out of there. I'm like, C. I'm not a C student.
I can't. Like, you gotta accept some things. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a C student.
No.
Especially not in advanced math. Like,
right.
You just know, okay,
yes.
well,
everyone cannot be all A students. That's just, it's not going to happen. So, and that's a whole other conversation is the merit and the value of grades versus, mastery and all that kind of stuff. But,
right. But if you fail every test, or if you just struggle on the tests, and the tests are a big part of the grade, then, that's just naturally what happens.
So I'm going to tell the other one, which is contrary to the one where the parent was more than on your side and willing to inflict punishment upon the child and wanting you to join in on that. So this student, had trouble with this student previously. He was just non-compliant. He did not work. I had to continually get him to take earphones off, to wake up and to stay in his seat, and it just, nonstop. And he was just, had trouble with, both me and a lot of other of his teachers for whatever reason. So this young man also, though, happened to play for the feetball team, okay? And the coaches, to try and, keep academics as an important part, have the kids fill out this thing. They hand it to their teachers saying, right, what grade do you have? Are there any issues? Is there missing work? Are there absences? Blah, blah, blah. A little progress report that goes directly to the coach that the student fills out.
And build relationships with coaches. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
If you're ever having an issue with the kid on a sports team, I would tell the coach and the parents.
Tell the coach before the parent, honestly. Yeah. Some kids are more scared. I'm like, do you want me to call your mom? You want me to call coach? Call my mom. Coach is going to make me run laps or, do burpees or whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Build strong relationships with those coaches.
He comes during the block that's not his to bring this to me, to have me fill this thing out. Because it was due. What a shocker. This kid that was like not doing anything in mine was late on turning in his progress report for football. So it was due, I guess, the afternoon before. So he hands it to me, and I start to fill it out. And then I go, being a little spiteful man that I can be, I said, remember when I tried to ask you to do something and you wouldn't do it for me? I said, well, I'm not going to fill this out right now. You're not even supposed to be in this room right now. You're supposed to be in your first block class. So come to me, fourth block, and I'll think about filling it out then. Basically just pushing his buttons. Okay? Being unprofessional.
Why?
Because he irritated me. And I was being petty and childish, Mr. Tedesco.
I mean, it is a good lesson about why we shouldn't be non-compliant. I do get that. Yeah, it's really frustrating when You ask somebody to do something and they refuse when you really need
Probably not the best choice of mine, but well within my rights. I didn't...
And it's not like you refused, you just said later.
Right. So,
Right.
I hand it back to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I hand it back to him, I accidentally had picked up along with it a little manila folder that when I went to pick them up, it had laid on top of
Grabbed
that,
them
picked up, I handed it back to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously he didn't need the manila folder.
Mm-hmm.
He was also frustrated by me not filling that out, and probably this coach, as we said, was not going to be happy with him for not having this thing filled out.
Right.
And he had just had, in general, issues with authority. So he took the folder and threw it into my face.
No.
Yes, hit me just straight. Like I do have spectacles. Hit me right below the spectacles in the
Manila folder's got
cheek.
some weight.
Yes, and if you throw them like with a little wrist flip, it like the edge of it kind of caught me right underneath the cheek. So it didn't draw blood, but it left a little mark.
School version of a shuriken.
Right, and then as he left, he took a desk and threw it out in the hall. And,
jeez.
Yeah, so the whole, he's
whole meltdown.
off the charts. Right,
Yeah.
So I write up a referral for that, and this is a Friday. I'm going home, or I'm not going to the beach for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm writing the referral, but I'm not having this phone call. Like, as soon as, school's out, I'm in the car, we're to the beach. It's about 4 hours from where we live. So on Monday, I call Mom. Hey, Mom, probably heard about the blah, 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 blah. This is Mom's response. Yeah, heard about that. I'm glad Coach is only going to make him miss the such and such game that we're probably going to win anyway, and that he'll still be able to play against the so-and-so tougher team. No empathy for the fact that her son threw something into my face. She's happy that he's going to miss a game against a weak opponent and will still be able to play against a strong opponent.
Priorities.
So at which point you realize, well, there's no point in me ever calling this parent again, so. And then he went to jail. He had and we have to edit this out, I don't know, but he had a weapon in a McDonald's that he was brandishing. So
Jeez.
I don't think he was just showing it off to show his friends what a tough guy he was.
I mean,
throws things at teachers and...
Right, but that is why it's so important, what we do in the referrals that we write up, because, boys who show anger and violence become men who show anger and violence.
Right.
I mean, if they're not met with consequences, and usually by the time they make it to your class,
mm-hmm.
They've been either encouraged at home or it's just been allowed at home, or at least permitted.
Yeah.
To the point where they find it acceptable, or they have some genuine issue that they haven't been able to work out on their own. And so it's up to us. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, and
to try.
Right. And that's our job. Our job is not to condemn or to do whatever, but there have to be consequences for certain behavior, and sometimes the consequences the challenges with school is the consequences, what we can give are limited. That's the goofiest thing in the world is if you cut class, sometimes your consequences are you can't go to class.
Right.
What?
You get suspended.
What? Oh, I didn't want to go to school, so I hung out in the bathroom. So now instead of going to school, I'll hang out in this other room, or you won't let me go to the school at all.
Right.
That seems
fine. I get
fine.
to hang out at home and sit on my phone all day.
That seems fine to me. So I think I was talking to one of our administrators, and their consequence now for kids that skip class is they put them in an AP class, and they sit there for a block or two. And they see kind of oh, this is how kids act when they are trying to advance themselves through education.
I've seen some administrators do that, and it really does work. I mean, one of the big problems, especially with honors tracking and standard tracking and whatnot, is a lot of kids wind up just stuck with the same goofballs, and so they only see kids joking around and treating school like it's a joke and not working seriously. But if you take that kid, I've seen this, that you can put that kid in an AP class, not give them the AP work, still give them the normal classwork, but just surround them by students who want to learn and want to do well and don't want to play around, and they'll start getting stuff done.
Right.
You hang around with those dogs long enough, you catch the fleas.
Fleas, yeah. Did you have any other funny parent stories, or do we want to move on to our next topic?
I don't think so. Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I will say this, though. So I told you I hate calling home.
Right.
I do. It's just... I don't mind emails, but I also don't really trust emails, and I don't really think it's a very effective way to communicate, because who knows if they even check them. So one of the things that I do is if a kid is failing or if they're playing around, one of my favorite things to do is I'll take them out into the hallway. I'll have them take out their own cell phone and I'll have them call home right there. And I was like, here, I want you to repeat to mom exactly what you just said in class right now.
Yes.
I want you to repeat those exact words.
That is a good one.
And so they have to own their behavior. Right. And I know that the communication is going home. And then I don't have to worry about a translator too.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You tell your abuela exactly what you just said.
¿O no habla español?
No.
Yo hablo por teléfono a los parentes y dice todo lo problema en español. Y los parentes es, tú comprendo que yo digo. Y yo dice que no, perfecto, pero tú comprende que yo dice.
That was magical.
Thank you.
I never knew this about Mealy.
Yes.
No, I took Italian in school.
Oh, that's a good. Have some pasta.
Which is
We're offending Italian people now.
Beautiful and useless language. Unless you're specifically in Italy. I don't think I've ever been able to use the Italian that I learned.
You don't go to like Carabas and say.
I feel so pretentious actually pronouncing things properly in Italian. If I walk into a place, the mozzarella, you're a jerk. I can't be like that.
No,
but what I will say
I
is,
can teach bilingually, and I do teach bilingually.
That's amazing. I never knew
it's
that.
fun, and I use. And the fun thing is, little thing. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
You first. My thing's useless.
Yes, but the one that is good, and I think it's good for the kids for both languages. That's not too challenging or too off-putting to kids, but I think it makes we have a very heavily Spanish-speaking population in our school, and so the numbers I go back and forth between Spanish and English all the time.
Interesting.
But I'll also, when I've gotten classes where it's really heavily Spanish, I will just repeat directions or repeat steps of a math problem in both English and in Spanish, like back and forth. Yeah, the Spanish kids like it. The fun part is, I'll say this in English, but this is what I say in Spanish. So imagine that George is here with us, and I would speak to you, and you speak Spanish. So pretend I'm speaking in Spanish again, but this is going to be in English. I go, hey, now that I'm speaking in your language, George doesn't know what we're saying, and George thinks that we're talking about him and saying funny things about him, but we're just talking to each other.
And so they hear just gibberish and then their name said twice.
Right. And
then the kid starts laughing.
Right.
You're a bad person.
So me and the Spanish-speaking kid, we're having a blast. George is like, what'd he say? What'd he say? What'd he say? And he's like, they're like, nothing. Of course, George doesn't believe it. He thinks we've been talking about him, whatever. And we haven't. Good times.
That's funny.
It was a lot of fun.
So I will say this. The one thing I do know how to say in Spanish, and I use this a lot for, sometimes I'll have a class where it's just a larger population of Spanish-speaking students. And so I'll give them a task or we'll be talking about a skill. Let's say we're talking about theme. Right?
Theme. Yes.
So I'll look at the class and I'll explain it.
Thinking of theme, there's a theme song for this podcast.
No, there is not, really. No pirate shanties.
Go ahead.
So you're the non-Spanish that I know. I'll just say, ¿Cómo se dice theme in español?
Yes.
And then the other kids will shout it out. And so that way I learn how to say it.
Right. For 2 seconds and then you forget.
Definitely. But I'll try to repeat it and they'll laugh at me because I can't pronounce it.
Right.
And then the kids who really struggle with language can hear it in their own language and make the connection.
Right.
¿Cómo se dice?
Right. ¿Cómo se dice? Yes. Yes. ¿Cómo se dice stoopy face? Sometimes you ever say that one?
I would avoid it. I don't think. Hold on. Have I done lessons on stupid faces?
No. Stoopy.
Stoopy faces.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Stupid is really derogatory. Stoopy faces is loving and just
silly.
Silly. Big stoopy face.
I do tell them all the time that the one thing in Spanish that I can say I learned from the trams in Walt Disney World.
Nice.
Because we went to Walt Disney World for a week when I was a kid, and we got on the monorail every morning.
Yes.
Every morning it would go, please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténgase alejado de los puertos.
Nice.
And that's it. And my Spanish kids, every time I say it, they correct me. My Spanish-speaking students, I should say. They correct me because I can't pronounce it right. I'm saying all the words wrong. But that's what I heard when I was 12.
Yes.
So
I always improperly tell them how to turn off the lights because sometimes to see what's projected on the board, we need the lights to be turned off or whatever. And so I say, cierra la luz, por favor. Which means close the lights. Which
They say that in New York, though.
But it's a Pagalaloose, okay? And they're like, Mr. Mueller, it's a Pagalaloose, not Sierra. I'm like, where I'm from, we say Sierra Laloose. And they're like, well, what's wrong with you? I'm like, you know what I mean, Sierra Laloose.
I know a lot of people from like Brooklyn who always say close the lights.
Do they?
Yes.
In English?
Yeah.
That's
Yo,
funny.
close the lights.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Teacher pet peeves.
Teacher pet peeves.
So these are pet peeves that teachers have, whether it be about other teachers, whether it be about other students, or whatever. Go for it. You look like you have something to say.
Well, the main one I always think of is some teachers have very set plans on how they loan out pencils. Like loaning out pencils and pens. It is the thousands of dollars, like the amount of the Brazilian rainforest that's destroyed by kids just losing pencils at the bottom of their backpacks. I can't even picture. I go through boxes of pencils.
Me as well. I at one point put stickers with my names on them, and that didn't matter.
No, it nothing really helps outside of like this, and I don't have the time to do this in my classroom.
Yes.
But I've seen it work well for certain teachers who are way more organized, or elementary school teachers, right? When you have fewer kids to deal with, where whenever they'll loan out a pen or a pencil, they'll always ask for something.
Yes, the exchange.
So usually it's
now I've got to keep track of your stuff.
A cell phone,
right,
or a shoe, or something. I never do that because I don't like having their possessions. I always get worried because if another kid steals it, now I'm partially responsible.
Yes,
right. You always want to be careful when it comes to taking a kid's property or holding on to it. But I've seen teachers, some of them work it out really well. They'll lock it in their desks, or they'll have a set plan for it, and their admin's okay with it. But who has the time for that?
No, and I'm in like this corner of the room because kids are working independently. Mm-hmm. So I am literally like 25, 30 feet from my desk. And this kid is like, that's right next to my desk saying, Mr. Mealy, can I have one of these dozen pencils that's sitting on my desk? I'm not stopping, working with you, going over there, having him go back to wherever he has to go to get something, and then I've got to...
set up a bartering program like a saloon owner.
Right, yes. Though it is sad that like the same kid asks for a pencil every day. I will give them a hard time and go like, what'd you do with the pencil from yesterday? Mm-hmm. They don't know.
And I always feel bad too because I know at some point it's disorganization, but at some point, that also could be just an indicator of, socioeconomic status, right?
Yes.
So like, the kid who's super rich, who's, parents, just have tons of office supplies, can just keep grabbing a stack of pencils.
So this kid is trading his pencil for magic beans on the way home?
I'm not saying that they can't be responsible. I'm just saying I don't always blame just them solely. Now, if I give them a pencil and then they lose it in the middle of the period, I'm confused. I don't always blame them because sometimes I will be just sitting being lazy all night and then not find the remote control. Yes. I have not moved. Where is it gone?
I don't know.
I hear the door opening up and we're at a bad part in Breaking Bad and I really need to pause.
Nice. Oh, by the way, after this, have you seen El Camino? Because we need to talk about it.
No.
Oh.
I'm still rewatching Breaking Bad.
Okay.
I'm on season 3.
Okay. I want to talk to somebody about it. Anyway. So that's a different podcast. I don't have a song for that.
No, I think AMC does. So yes. We're covered.
All right. Though it is nice that now both vehicles that were made that are car trucks now have a movie. Okay?
Does the van have its own movie?
No. El Camino is like a car truck.
Oh, right.
Right? It's like a car that has like a truck bed in it.
Right.
And Gran Torino is also a car truck and also a movie.
Which I still have not seen.
You haven't seen? Oh, you got to see Gran Torino.
That's what I keep hearing.
Oh, it's so good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
All right,
anyway.
Teacher pet peeves.
Pet peeves. So, this is a little one. We're not going to dwell on it too much. But, like, if you jam the copier, unjam the copier. If the copier jams 7 times in a row while you're making copies, alert whoever it is in your school that's in charge of contacting the person to fix copies. Maybe you have a Google form you fill out. Maybe you just ask George, I don't know, and say, George, make sure the copy repair guy gets out here. Mm-hmm. But don't just leave the thing jammed. If it's jammed for the 7th time, then you can put a note on it, don't use this copy machine. But if it's jammed for the first time, Don't just take your paper out and go to the next copier and go, I don't know how to unjam the thing. Try. Find someone that's there then. Open your mouth, like, be a big boy or girl and do that. So that one really
You leave a note. You're a teacher, so we know you have paper, we know you have tape, and we know you have a marker.
Right.
Just leave a note. Just say, like, hey, broken.
So that one. Okay. This one applies, well, and I guess that applies to people working in offices as well. I don't know how people in offices make copies. Sometimes there's a person in charge of that, but whatever. I don't know. So this applies to everyone. Okay. If you're in a meeting, and it's possible for you to ask your question later in an email because it only applies to you specifically, or maybe you and 2 other people, don't raise your hand. Especially if we can look at the clock and see there's 10 minutes left in the meeting and 6 things left on the agenda.
But wait, in my classroom, it doesn't work exactly like that. Then ask that question later.
Yes.
And just ask it after the meeting.
Yes.
Is that a question for 200 people?
No.
No?
No.
Let us get through the meeting.
Right. Yes. So, but I'm sure that applies to lots.
Bring a piece of paper. You should always have paper at a meeting anyway.
Right.
And just have a piece of paper, have something to write with, write down your question, and email it.
That's why there is a person at our school. He doesn't speak very much at meetings. And I guess there's a number of people who have done this, I guess. But there was one in particular that I've seen do it, like, more than once. That has, like, a 3-minute spiel that has to be told to the entire faculty at a faculty meeting. And some things can need to be emailed, and some things need to be said directly for tone or what.
It's usually repeat offenders, though.
Right. But then this person comes and says, when they're blah, 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 blah. If you have a question, send me an email. I'm sitting down now. And I'm like, 2 thumbs up to you. You're an awesome presenter at a meeting.
That's how you run.
That's how you do it. And they are like off the platform or in front of the thing or whatever before someone can even get their hand up.
When somebody keeps...
And then he's like, and then if someone emails him a question and it applies to everybody, then he sends out an email to everybody. And we go, oh, okay, I hadn't thought about that aspect of that thing.
Isn't it weird how well humans can solve problems when they just take its time to think about them?
Yes.
I mean, I when I'm stuck in a meeting and someone keeps asking a question, you ever read The Divine Comedy?
No.
Dante Alighieri. So.
Oh, Dante. No.
Dante. Yes.
He wrote the Inferno. Yes.
Yes. The Inferno is part of the Divine Comedy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He starts in hell and makes his way to heaven.
I read a science fiction adaptation of the Inferno, and one of the main characters was turned out to be Benito Mussolini.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
Yes. So.
Unrelated. One year when I was teaching,
Uh-huh.
a video game of Dante's Inferno came out. So
Nice.
the kids kept asking if we could read it, and I said no. You will find it boring and you will hate it because it's mostly just lists of stuff.
It's in Italian, right?
Traditionally, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Can
the
you read
advanced
it?
Italian
Have
classes.
you read it in the native Italian?
No, I could have if I stayed with my Italian classes, but
Okay.
I didn't. I gave up because I didn't
Yes.
see it helping me professionally, and
Okay.
that's right. So, but in the Divine Comedy, everybody in hell, everybody
There's circles
gets
of hell. Yes.
punishment suited to what they did,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's always something ironic.
And I've got a hell-related joke when you're done. Go ahead.
So like I always wonder like what will hell be like for this person because they're going to receive some sort of divine consequence for the sin of stretching out long meetings, and I
Nice.
think it'll just be they have no mouth and just always have a question.
Nice. That would be awesome.
And just no one around them, or just no one around them understands or listens to them.
Nice. So, people talk about, particularly when like young children lose a dog, which is a very sad thing.
Mhm.
The dog goes to doggy heaven, in
Right.
a lot of people say.
Right.
So the cool thing about doggy heaven is they get to chase squirrels around all the time. What's a little known fact? Doggy heaven, also squirrel hell.
Wow. Order for the spider.
Yes,
It's chaos for the
yes,
fly.
yes. So the squirrel has the naughty squirrels have to go to doggy heaven and be chased by dogs all the time.
That's their hell.
Okay. So any other pet peeves?
Teacher pet peeves? I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Okay.
Thank you so much. That concludes today's episode. We appreciate you listening all the way through. So if you've listened this far, you obviously are either tied up in a room or you really liked what you were hearing. So please share this podcast with your friends, with your neighbors, on your social media. Please click subscribe if you are listening to it on some type of app where you can subscribe. Also, please follow us on Twitter. Unprocast. We are at Unprocast now on Twitter, so you'll get episode information and random stuff. Also, if you want to email us at at unprofessionaldevelopmentcast@gmail. Alrighty, and I really want to have a big shout out. We now have listeners in Great Britain and in India. We are international, baby. So I just want to let them know that we know that they're listening and want to let them know that we appreciate that. We're going global, baby. Look out, Joe Rogan. Thank you.